Hi everyone, welcome back to Freak Sense TV. I'm your host, Charlie Freak, and boy, am I very, very happy again today because we have the breathtaking, amazing, absolutely number one, Josh, Josh X. And this show is at the behest of Josh, who you're seeing for the time being. And the show today entirely is going to be based upon a very, very crucial, important subject. And this is the demise of the Maritime Admiralty Law system and the replacement of it with the truth, which is common law, natural law, that we are natural, godly creations of the Creator, and therefore our absolute lawful rights are unending and very, very simple and direct. So with that, let's start by introducing Josh and allowing Josh to say hi with the video on him. And then in a sec, Josh will drop out of the video just to protect the quality of his audio for this very, very important show. So with that, welcome. Hello from Portugal. Josh, we love you so much. How are things going today?
Firstly, it's been an absolute stunning day, pure blue skies, and I've been bathing in an abundance of fruit. I've been picking it locally from the trees just as I walk down the street, which is an incredible thing to be able to do. And today here, I think it's very important that we can try to logically present to you a way that you can see freedom in the mind from an oppressive establishment that has established a mind across the whole of the world and hoodwinked 99.9% of people into a state of fear that they cannot break. So we're really hoping to be able to give you something to be able to crush that fear and a small piece of inspiration that you can take with you and really see the truth here. So before I shut off, I want to say love you all and really hope you enjoy this today.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Josh. Okay, now Josh is going to switch off the camera. And again, this is just to protect the quality of his audio, which is what is so important. So with that, let me just take you on a very, very quick overview journey to some of you who may not be aware holistically of what Josh and I are talking about with regard to Maritime Admiralty Law. There has been a system in place, and the origins essentially reach back the Federal Reserve banking system. And again, the key component being that December meeting in Congress of the United States back in 1913 really rolled out this system, this false system of what is known as the Maritime Admiralty Laws. Now, the system itself went all the way back into the 13th century, rolled itself out predominantly in the 1600s from 1608 to about 1666, 1668, but really was embraced with virtually every country earthwide with the setup of the Federal Reserve banking system in 1913. So what are we talking about? We're talking about a system where you are recognized solely upon a false construct. And that's right. So to the powers that be, and based upon the actions that took place in the delivery room when you were born into existence, is that you have been reduced from a natural creation of God, which is eternal, abundant, and limitless under the protections of God's creation, to a very, very fragile, easily controlled paper being. And this is the Maritime Admiralty Law system, which Josh is going to get into in detail here in just a sec. But essentially, on your birthing certificate, when you are received as merchandise from the high seas upon the land by a doctor. The doctor is the one who greets this creation from the high seas upon the land, and then the subterfuge begins in full. And so, in essence, what you were reduced down to via your birthing certificate is a 3-word name, all caps, registered, confirmed, backed by a number, which is confirmed on your birthing certificate. And there you exist to the powers that be as chattel. Chattel that can be owned, and therefore bought and sold as chattel based upon a system where we have consented, capitulated, whether we know it or not, consented, capitulated to participate in this system as essentially the living dead. And hence, this is why organized society's penchant for making all of these movies, television shows about the living dead, about zombies, this type of thing, because essentially that's what we've done. The moment that our parents agreed by, the process of leaving a hospital to sign off on these documents without really understanding what these documents are for, is that they have reduced us to a piece of paper instead of this incredible creation of God. And this is where all of the subterfuge has existed. This is where all of their power comes from. And this is where all of the victimness of our position as slaves all originates from. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to Josh, and Josh is going to take us on this fascinating narrative of Maritime Admiralty Law and the Strawman identity.
That was a wonderful piece of information that people, if they do not know, it's great that they try to get their grips with that to start with, which would be, the strawman, and how this implicates your existence here with the world and not the earth. I wanted to say, when you were saying, the parents, after they register, if you look at the word parents, it's a pair of rented people. And again, I use the word people as persons, because if we understand the dimension of the word person in legalese, a person is a corporation. Now, the birth certificate that's been created at the time of death, should I say, because the birth certificate is actually a death registration.
Yep.
If we look at the word registration or registrar or regis, regis means of the crown, and it's not the purple crown, this is the crown copyright, which is a corporation that controls the realm of the dead. Now, though I walk through the shadow of the valley of death, I shall fear no evil. And the reason why I would never fear this is because I know who I am. I know who I am in the physical sense, and I know who I am in the spiritual sense. And this is why it's key to understand all of these things that we're going to be speaking about tonight, because this will free the dominion and the powers that be that have dominated your essence since you've been existing here. So there's a lot of synchronicities and there's a lot of things to take in. So first of all, we're not going to be able to go in depth on everything, because these are subjects that if you do not understand, you should go away and then learn with them. So first of all, we spoke about strawman. The word strawman itself backwards is end in the arm, and it's a war with the physical sine wave. So when you look into these words, you'll see an absolute truth there. So once the registrations happen with the name is not me. If you see the word, is na me. And now they've begun to label you. In this labeling process, they've created a business or a busyness. And this is supposed to keep you away from the truth. And the truth being everything is so simply divine, and creation works for you and with you to create an absolute abundance. So the system here is a opposite transaction of that, which is creating contracts with you on a daily basis via the birth certificate name that you have come into belief that you are, which you are truly not. And we need to know the difference between this and the truth. So one, the person is a key, which is the birth certificate. Now this is the tool that you can use to do commerce or to trade with on a day-to-day basis with the busyness world. If you choose to use your tool for busyness, you will be creating contracts. with the money changers. So once you've created contracts with the money changers and you are in a belief that you are of this person, you now go into the realm of the dead, where there is no life, where it leads to destruction. And this is why it's so key to know who you are. Any contract that you've given over your name to is truly non-existent, and it doesn't really bind you if you come into knowing who you are. So you must not fear anything about this if you're coming into the awareness of who you are through this. We all go to work before we know how to free ourselves. And work is war with decay, which is balance, and job means persecution. And there's another loose translation to he who weeps, and also to be an enemy. And this puts us into employment. Now, if we're employed, we are now under the rulings or the structures of the United Kingdom or any country that is out there, as all countries are registered businesses. So to be working or to have a job is to be working for an establishment. And the reason why you are drawn into statutes, acts, and maybe 100 million types of laws that have been created is because that you don't know who you are. You don't know why you're working. You don't know why you feel the stresses. And all of these things are tied into one simple thing. This is the strawman. Do you want to elaborate, and then we'll start to interject with so much, because this is such a vast subject. It would be great for some depth.
Yeah, it totally is, Josh. That was perfect. The way that you described it. Let me just really quickly sum it up, because it is just so key. You're ultimately, what we are is consciousness. We constantly restrict ourselves by seeing us only as these physical beings. But again, like Nikola Tesla said, and you need to wrap your mind around the world of Nikola Tesla and not the world that has been sold to us through Albert Einstein. Tesla said that we are energy. As energy, we are frequencies. Frequencies that are either vibrations or pulses, electricity or magnetism, but we are frequencies. Your frequency is that of the creator. Only the creator can create frequency. Your parents, as Josh said, are a pair of rents. These are higher beings dimensionally that have agreed to play a role as the sort of day-to-day physical parents to you. And what you literally are is this eternal metaphysical miracle that can exist in two worlds. And the whole point of our first two shows together have been about this process of uniting two worlds as one. That's where we get into trouble. This is where we create all of the problems for ourselves, because we completely disassociate ourselves from what we truly are, which is the higher self, which is consciousness, which is energy. To reduce it down scientifically to Nikola Tesla, that's why Tesla said, to understand the secrets of this world, you must first know that what the construct of this creation is that it's energy, and that you are an energetic being, and therefore you are frequencies, vibrations, and or pulses. Okay, so you need to know that. And that's, by the way, why Tesla said that the secret to then everything is 3, 6, and 9, which we won't touch right now. But that's what 3, 6, and 9 relate to. 3, 6, and 9 relate to the fact that you are energy, therefore frequencies of vibrations and pulses. And until you accept that, until you see that, then you're going to continue to allow yourself to be hoodwinked. You don't want to be hoodwinked. You need to realize that only God can bestow this energy, which is consciousness. So therefore, your true Father is thy one true Father that we call the Father, which is the Creator or God or whatever name you want to apply to that. But it's the Father, because He is the Father. And remember, where do our bodies come from? The same place they go back into. All you ever have to do is look at this process of death, because again, the Hermetic principle, as above, so below, as within, so without, as the universe, so with the soul, macrocosm, microcosm. Simply look at one aspect and you will see the whole. So when we die of the physical body goes back into the earth from whence it came. So your mother truly, truly, truly is the one mother, which is the sacred feminine entity playing the role as the physical mother earth. So mother below, father above, those are our parents. And that's why you get this ancient gnosis from every single culture that we are brothers and sisters. Because guess what? We are literally brothers and sisters. We are all brothers and sisters because we share the same father and the same mother. We have a group of parents, a pair of rents that play this physical role. And if you're trapped in this physical gnosis of everything and this physical reality of everything, then you are ripe for the picking. And that's exactly what they've done. So like Josh said, if you knew yourself before you entered into this realm of work, you wouldn't have entered into the realm of work, but you don't know yourself. And once you enter the war with K, that's what Josh is saying. Work is war with K. K is the Mastar number, is number 11, which is the twin pillars, the twin temples, which is balance. So when you are at war with balance, you will never come to know yourself. That's why they rush us off in the system of commerce into getting jobs. Rush, rush, rush into getting jobs. Rush, rush, rush. Because as soon as you begin the war with K, you will never, ever come to where yourself. And then, as Josh said, the word person really takes on its full meaning, which from the Greek is Persephone. And Persephone is a wearer of masks. So with that, I'm going to jump it right back to Josh, who truly is the master on this. Go ahead, Josh.
Yeah, so I think if we just start to get the clear perception that the country that you're existing in is a registered business, and this is the establishment which tries to establish a construct of mind that's bringing you to the world rather than the earth. Let's use the UK, England, for example, right now. So first of all, you have the business set up. Then you have the parliament, which paralyzes the ment. This is palming lies off to your mind. From the parliament, they create laws. And now these laws are given to a policy, which is police, which is phonetically policy. So these policy makers have policy enforcers, and they drive around with the blue lights, trying to correct any redshift problems. The thing that gets you into any issues with these policymakers is creating contracts with your name or your surname. Your surname is an assurity name to do with commerce. Now, this allows you to do interaction, etc., but it really doesn't exist. It's a contract for the persona or the mask. You have an ability every single day to be able to deal with these demons on a level in knowing who you are. And once you've gone through a certain level of process, you'll see that you are truly free if you do not contract with your name, because your name is not me. You are here and now, in this space, in this very moment. The belief that you are an actor or a person, this is what actually gets you into trouble. Now, consent is the key. If you look at the Prime Minister of England before the one now, which she was a lady, Theresa May, there's a video on YouTube of her actually stating that the UK are policed by consent. Very key wording, and if you watch it, you'll find that you'll see these words have been picked out specifically, and they are talking to you and your awareness. And if you can pick up on it, you'll see that you are free, but you consent not to be free. So this is again showing you that you are already free. Limitless, unbounded freedom until you have a belief. This is why it's key to drop the ideas, the thoughts and perceptions that you have about yourself, because in doing so, you've only created change in the ment. Another word that correlates to a person is actually a monster. Now, I'm sure all across the world in the English tongue, monster has been given to children's pajama sets for the last God knows how many years. My little monster, this little monster. And the reason why they're doing it is it's a little subconscious cue to try to get you to research the true meaning of monster. because monster is something that resembles a human or a man, but is not inherent to land and has to pay taxes. Now, this is symbiotic with the person. Now, man is something so separate. Man is completely unbounded and unchained. And if you know who you are and you are of mankind, and may I just say that man is woman and man. We are all masculine energies here, and we all need to connect to the divinity of the feminine energy to balance ourselves in every single way, whether it be through the law, through the food, or through anything that we are actually in existence with at the moment. So I think there's a key to firstly understand that there is a dictionary given to us by the establishment through the schooling systems, and it's called Oxford. Now, ford is a blockage in a river that stops the flow. An ox is the void of balance, the O and the X. So what it's doing is actually stopping the flow of information to you, creating a imbalance. So the water cannot flow, which is again information, into the mind to be free. Now they've written legalese, which is using the same words as you speak on a day-to-day basis by the Oxford Dictionary, but they mean something completely different. I don't know if you want to interject there, Charlie, if you might have something to say, and then we can continue to progress.
No, you just keep going. You said it all so perfectly, and everything you said is correct. By the way, folks, you really quickly, just again, Oxford being sort of in England, but you know, thought of in the Western world as one of the pinnacles of learning establishments, Oxford, where it is damming up the flow of gnosis knowledge, and that's where you go to get your gnosis knowledge is you know the blockage. So just you know think about that. But no, right back to you, Josh.
Okay, because this is all to do with the Maritime Admiralty Law system. Everything is connected to water. You'll see obviously the Oxford Dictionary being a ford, which is again to the river. This is why you cannot afford something, because the flow of water has not been flowing, so you cannot buy something. But we need to understand that again, this is a penal system. And if we look at the penal system, the word penal is all pen. Now, this is all down to you once you're of age to understand the truth, because you've had an exoteric gnosis or knowledge schooling system. This has been missed out. But there is information everywhere for you to free yourself and to seek. And this is the journey of man here. Existence is no coincidence. But just to correlate the system with the words of the sea, you'll see that, you know, the banking system is obviously a massive part of this. So a bank is obviously to be onk, and the B is the second letter. So there's an onk, which holds the water down by two sides. Now, in a bank, you have currency. Now, this is the current of the sea, which is the flow of water again. You have bank charges. Now, a charge is the flow of electricity. You have liquid assets. You have offshore accounts. You have cash ISAs. You know, you have, for example, if we correlate it with the police or the policy, you'll have a policy of ISA, and you have justice or justice. Now, the only reason how you would get justice in this type of system is if you have just ice and you're off the water on ice. This is where they're saying you're treading on thin ice. You have a court, and this is where you play games. You play games on a basketball court, a tennis court, etc. But if you look at the word court, it says co your T, which is to join your physical. Now, in any realm, especially the legal realm, you do not need to respond to a letter or to anything of that such and create a verbal contract. But what we do have is a massive fear that something deeper or bigger will come from this if we don't respond. So we'll keep progressing into this. I'll talk a bit more about the system and the way that the words quickly correlate, because you have bankruptcy, which is obviously the bank has ruptured, so the water's leaked out of the bank and it's left your cash flow, for example. Again, we have drivers. Now, you can travel freely upon this realm. but they've given a word in the legally side called a driver. Now, if you look at the word driver, you'll see D river. Now, this is a form, which is the fourth letter D. So D is the fourth letter of the alphabet, which represents form, and driver, the secondary word is river. So you'll see it's a form of river. So you're driving on the river, and this is why the roads are made from cement. Now, ment is mind, and sea is obviously the sea. So they're trying to create a sea mind. So it's like you're driving on the ship in your car via your citizenship. And this is how everybody can get in trouble via the laws, because they've actually created a contract. To drive is to be carrying livestock or human passengers as a tax animals. Now, unless you're doing commerce where you're traveling, you're not driving, so you don't need a license. Now, a license is a lie that makes sense, or a lie to the senses. So any license created is strictly only for commerce. And if you're not engaging in commerce, i.e. profit, forfeit, you do not need any of these things. So you could be traveling on a day-to-day basis, just doing your family work, and you could get pulled over by the policy. And the policy would try to create a verbal contract with you initially by asking for your name. Now, your name here and now, the name is a birth certificate. So if they can create a contract with you there and then for you to agree you're a birth certificate, you've totally waived your rights. That person is not inherent to anything and has no rights. They have privileges and benefits. And you are innately free and, like I said, limitless to be able to cope on earth. So we need to separate the world and the earth in every situation and truly understand who we really, really are. You know, another word with like a bailiff is a bail, which is bailing the ship. You have so much wording that's connected to this type of system. You have, you know, Congress, and then Congress, you similar that with the word progress, and you'll see that Congress is the opposite of progress. You have the government, which is to govern minds that are not ready to be free yet. Busyness is busyness. You have notices, which is not ice, which is water. So they would write a notice to express to you that you're in the water. Now you need to pay attention to this not ice, because there are laws abiding to persons. Now, any statute or any act that has been written is only to persons. So they'll always start off with the any persons doing this or that. And this is why it's key to not be a person, not to identify yourself with a mask, and know who you truly are as a man or as a woman, because in that instant you've become free from any thoughts or any thought forms out there that truly believe they have power over you. Now, in that instant, a tiny bit of synchronicity is that government is an idea of man. This is a creation of God. Now, how can any idea that man has created tell man what to do? It can't, unless you give over your consent.
That's right.
And your consent is your name, your signature, which is your sign of nature, and it can get you in a lot of trouble. You truly need to know who you are. And it is all very simple, and it comes down to one thing. So, for example, in England, I just like to say that, you know, we have mortgages, and mortgages are mortgages, which are death pledges. And these death pledges, they never end. You shouldn't really be buying houses or buying land, because in the act of buying land, you've now done business with the money changers. And in that sense, you do not own the property. The property has been handed over to be looked after in a trust by government agencies, because you can not handle your own affairs. Now, most things like the DVLA in the UK, which is the Driver Vehicle License Agency, I think it's DMV in America, and I'm not sure the rest of the world. But what you're doing is when you register a car, you're actually handing over ownership to this corporation. And if you look on the registration certificate you have in England, I'll just I base it on this. It says that this is not proof of ownership. It's just who is responsible for taxing and insuring the vehicle. Now, you have something called you have a huge trust fund that was created when you were birthed into this realm. Now, everything can be discharged as debt if you choose to go into this system. Again, this is a massive can of worms to open up. But what we want to give to you tonight is the most simplest way to be able to let go, because if you mess with the system's always going to be trying to mess with you. Now, there's one simple key here, and it's to really truly know who you are, and you are a man. If you wish to go into the world, it becomes a massive toll on you. Now, this is why the word job means persecution or enemy, because if you choose to go to work, you need to drive to work. And in driving to work, you need a car. And in that car, it's quite expensive. So when you drive a car, you need to go to work to pay for the car that you need to drive to go to work in. And then also you need to pay for petrol, you need to pay for the road tax, and you need to pay for the insurance. Now, already in an average man's wage, or should I say person's wage, this is cut 20% off. And the food that you buy for the convenience of going to work is actually not good for your health. It's covered in plastic and is the opposite of freedom. So just by that small little instance there, if you can see, if you're actually engaging with the money changes or you're going to work, the amount or the level of disconnection from God, nature, creation that happens just in that moment is, one, you have to go to work to pay for this car that you need to drive to work. You're putting pollutants into the car, which go into the atmosphere, into the air that you breathe. Two, they're creating plastic waste to wrap around the food that you're consuming that is not fresh and is only death. That if you just did not go to work and you planted fruit, the fruit waste would feed animals, go back into the soil. You wouldn't need to drive to work and pay for the cars and the food and the convenience that you need to have. And all your time is taken up. 8 hours a day working, 8 hours a day sleeping, maybe an hour either way traveling to work, preparation for food, family, children, taking to school, etc., all these types of things. And it's really one fast-paced life that when you live in the past or the future, you don't see the present moment, and it's gone before it's even noticed. You know, so just in that small disconnection by going to work has a detrimental effect on you, your physiology, the earth, your spirit. Anything you'd like to add there, brother?
Again, it's Josh is just what you're saying is just incredible. It's incredible because when you listen to all of this, it is the essence of what virtually everyone would define themselves as well, which is to have a career or to be a parent. And when you listen to everyone sort of describe their lives, the thing that is once you're aware of the subterfuge that's going on and the false game that is being played, then the thing that becomes very noticeable when you listen to other people describe their lives that there's no sense of life. There's no sense of themselves. There's no sense in any sense of actual accomplishment rather than performance based upon a set of parameters established by your controllers. And so once you awaken to this, it just is a staggering, horrific reality. And that's why those of us who know this truth, this reality, feel the passion, feel the need to share this and as much as we can, because this is just this is evil beyond real full consideration, full gnosis, because you are essentially your entire life being taken away from any chance of knowing who you really are and what you really are, and you spend your entire life being a servant to a system that works for the few and not the many. So with that, let's go back to Josh.
If we see that that small system that's been put in place, they've created properties or proper ties that keep you in the same place and not exploring, with very small gardens and right on top of each other in apartments, or semi-detached properties, or maybe 5 to 10 meters away from your neighbors. And this is no way to live. But in doing so, people may think, how would normal day-to-day life carry on, or how would we get rid of our rubbish, for example? We might need some bin bags. We want all these cars. What would we do with the wastage? When you live in a house, you have a toilet which flushes into a communal system with the rest of your local council. So if you look at that in a holistic way, you'll see, you have bin men to come and collect the rubbish, but the rubbish is only created from the convenience food that you get from the store. And that store needs to be lit up with so many lights and so much air conditioning, so much fridges to keep food not fresh, but in such a way that it can be edible or palatable. The electricity, the waste, all of these things are just happening just because we're choosing to go to the store to buy these things. Now, bin men, there would be no rubbish, because everything that you would consume would be fruit from the tree, which grows for free, and then that will go back into the earth to create healthy soil in abundance. Plastic bags wouldn't be needed. Plastic wrappers would not be needed. Cars wouldn't really be needed, because it wouldn't take you very long to walk from one country to the other if you truly wish so. You could create or use or utilize what's here, because the technology we have here is redundant. It's just being used in a commercial way, because this allows money to be reciprocated into the bank to the money change, into the bank to the money changes. Electric cars was the first car invented by Nikola Tesla, and he had a free energy device that drew in the electricity via the atmosphere or the stratosphere, and it used to be given out wirelessly to receivers on cars that could drive around. And this is where we're hopefully going in this new age. If not, it's going to be electric, and they're going to charge you for an abundance of batteries that are being created via the waste of plastic at the moment. And then, compost would just be given all your food in abundance to the animals that need it, back to nature, and the soil would be amazing. So what would you do with your poo and your wee? If you're a fruitarian and you're not eating or consuming death, your poo is a wonderful fertile thing for the plants. And not only in doing so, if you're consuming the fruit, this fruit will contain a seed in the poo, and the poo will go into the ground, and then you'll have an abundance, an absolute abundance. And this is why the design is so perfect. So all we need to do is plant trees. And in the system, what's actually happening is the water that you're drinking from the tap is cleaned with bleach and fluoride and all of these types of things. Or fluoride's added into it as a waste product they need to get rid of. But the water that's being reciprocated out of the taps is actually still the same water that's been pooed in and weed in, and all this wee and all this poo is being collected by your local council and then given to the small hands of farmers to spray on the fields to then grow the crops with meat and dairy, which is not good for anything. And this is what's causing acidosis in the soil. Fruits are not tasting good. They're only grown with 3 minerals, which are synthetic minerals in that industry. So there's a full spectrum of 113 minerals that your body needs and should be uptaking. And in that, you are deficient in your amino acid coding, and you're deficient in your minerals, and you're deficient in the holistic healing way that you need to be to progress here. Now, if you can activate more inactive DNA, then this is the thing that will allow the light to rise within your being. So the system is completely reversed to the truth. There is nothing holistic, there is nothing healing, and there is nothing but death there with that system of work. Now, this is why job means persecution. This is why it means he who weeps. This is why it means to be an enemy. Who are you an enemy of if you go to work? God, creation. And it's so key to try and get this into the subconscious that you are not a person. The Bible speaks I think, well, 20 odd times in the Bible that God is not a respecter of persons. He does not see through the eyes of whom believes he is a something. He is an actor. He is a mask. He has been personified to a belief that he is something when he is everything. And in that, I'll pass it back to you and see if there's anything you'd like to say.
Yeah. It is mentioned again. The more you look into this, the more you're going to see that largely the New Testament was was very much this journey of Jesus Christ to become Christ Jesus, because he had to rise, and he had to rise above the Maritime Admiralty waters. And you look at all of the language that is used, and the further we go into the New Testament, the more the language becomes maritime language. And so in the book of Acts, chapter 10:34, then Peter opened his mouth and said, "Of a truth I perceive that God is no respecter of persons." And again, this is only one of many, many instances. And the other thing that is so profound within the pages of the Bible, especially again the New Testament, and again the closer we get to the great reveal, which is the book of Revelations, we hear more and more and more about the dead, more and more that ultimately the dead will arise. Well, again, we are all dead men walking until such time that we leave the citizenship and walk upon the Maritime Admiralty waters. So again, when everyone is living as a judgmental and very unhappy, frustrated slaves upon the ship of commerce at sea, which is exactly how this is playing out in the New Testament, then a great storm is created upon the sea. And everybody panics, because that's what people who live in fear do. They panic. And so they reach out to Jesus Christ, who was in peace below deck. So he was in meditation. He's interrupted. And in a panic mode, they come to Jesus and they ask him if he can still the water. And he comes up and he looks at them and he says, "Have you not learned a thing, ye of little faith?" All of you are capable of doing this. And then he raises his arms and hands and commands the seas to be calm, and the seas are calm. And then, needing to get away from this chaos, the insanity, because again, everything relates back to this narrative of the single eye, and that is the eye of the hurricane. So in the very center of every hurricane is this perfect, still, silent eye. And note that there's the only way into the eye would be through great chaos, and the only way out of the eye would be through great chaos, which is the hurricane. And the hurricane never ends, never dissipates. That's what it is. So in the eye of the hurricane, you get essentially human physiology to a T, which is left brain, right brain, left brain, right brain. When you're in the eye of the hurricane, you have entered via the fourth ventricle, that straight and narrow canal that leads into the third ventricle, that innermost, centermost spot of human existence. And there you are in that middle place, that center spot, that single eye. If thine eye be single, then the whole body fills with light. And the clarity of being in this still, silent eye. And then, of course, no matter where you look, 360 degrees, because it is a circle, everywhere you look out there is chaos. And there you go, is the allegory of allegories. So when you learn to go within yourself, all shall be revealed. And when you look out of yourself with wisdom, you shall see that everywhere you look is chaos, which tells you one thing: the reason why there's not a path in nor a path out of the eye of a hurricane is because you're not meant to leave. You're not meant to leave, and you have to forge a path to that eye so that it will be difficult, it will be hard, so that you will never forget, that you will never lose the lesson learned, which is when we fell out of singularity to this ridiculous plane of dualities defined by the polar opposites, that this is such hell upon earth that when we take the time to return home to heaven upon earth, we'll never leave. See, this is the significance of this eye. There's no path in, there's no path out. You have to go through hell to get in, and you'd have to go through hell to get out. And this is what they have created literally for us in this world of commercial law, which is the exact opposite of common law, which is natural law. And so we get this division between the world of legality and illegality versus lawfulness. Lawfulness comes from the Father. Legality comes from the hands of man. You can guess which one is true. And there's one other thing that I wanted to just mention to Josh and get his take on it, which is that one of the key things moving forward with this new quantum financial system that is going to be put into place and replace banking. So moving forward, we're not going to have banks. We're going to have a system that provides you, the individual, with free access to your funds whenever you should have need to. So it's all based upon you, and it serves you, not the other way around. Now, in the old system, we had what are called deposits. Okay, so to posit is to place, or is placing of a notion, and deposit, well, you know what the word DE does to all of these words, like posit, deposit, capitate, decapitate, construct, deconstruct. Every time you put D in front, it takes away. So decapitate is to take away your head. So when you deposit your notions, the efforts of your intellectual property or your physical labor, when you posit this wealth into a system of banking, then they coin the phrase deposit, because it's designed to take away. So when you enter into a system that you know not about, then a fool is easily separated from his money. A fool and his money shall find themselves separated in a hurry. And the fool is he who does not know about the game that they are playing in the court. Okay? And this is the court of legality, this specious system that exists all around us. So deposits mean to take your money away, and they're under no, in their world, they're under no legal obligation to ever give it back to you. They give some back to you in limits, because they have to give the illusion that you are free, that the illusion of democracy and freedom when there's none. And so I wanted to share that with you and to sort of pass that back over to Josh, because through this deposit system came this entire narrative structure and style of the way that they lent money. And how they lent money is the system where they took and stored 1/10 of the money that you posited, and then they deposited you of the 90%. By the way, this is another reference to the left brain, right brain, 10% left brain, dime brain, 10%, right brain, 90%. So they deposited the 10%, they play around with you, which is your right brain, which is the 90%. And so this is fractional reserve banking. And what fractional reserve banking allows any bank to do is that every time you deposit, say $1,000, $100 is on their books, $100 is supposed to stay in their deposit room, and then the other 90% gets to be transacted out 9 more times. So that is the totality, which would be the $1,000 investment, gets to be created again 9 more times out of thin air by this rule. And it all stems from this one word, deposit, which means to take your posit, your wealth away from you. So back over to Josh.
Yeah, the word posit is just positive. So it takes away the positive part of the money in your bank account. The way that money's always worked, over the last, for a long time, is it's not what we believe that it is. For an example, if you're getting a loan, normally up until sort of this year coming and maybe next year, what they do is they give you a credit agreement This is actually a promissory note. Then you put your signature on the promissory note. Because we are all individual bankers, again, there's so many cans of worms to open up, but we are all
Exactly.
individually bankers, but we do not know how to bank. So you use a bank to do it for you, and this is why you're losing out every single time. In doing so, they've created a promissory note, and this is coming out of your trust fund from your birth certificate. Your birth certificate is worth millions, and they've traded you every single day on the stock exchange and built up such a fund inside of that. So you'll go to get, for example, a £10,000 loan from the bank. And in doing that, they'll give you this agreement. You'll sign the agreement, which gives them permission to go into your account and lend you your own money back at you. And then you have to pay that back with interest. So you're actually paying for something 3 times, and the money was actually there for you, but it was the ignorance of the system and the true way that the monetary system works that you cannot have access to it. It was fear. It's not a good system to be a part of. And when you were saying, the words order out of chaos, this is the master symbol. But again, as a part of people awakening to a certain truth, they think there's just a group of people creating chaos. But the truth is, you must find order from the chaos in this duality aspect to bring knowingness and truth to yourself. And the reason why this system has been there and in place for such a long time, because you're in an unnatural state of being. In everything that you do, opposing the natural state of being. Whenever you're feeling pain because of the bills, which beat ills, and a bill backwards is lib, which is freedom, you need to understand that you're feeling this pain for a very good reason. You need not do any of these things. You need not study law. There are millions and millions of laws out there, statutes and acts, which only bind to the person. And as Charlie said, the divine nature or the law here, which is true law, which has been passed down for generation and generation, which is LORE, which is true law, is common law, which is harm, injury, or loss. And the reason why certain people can get away with murder is because they know the truth about the law. If someone is a person and they stand up in court, say the family do, and they say, was he this person? As soon as they say, yeah, this person was already dead. How can you kill someone that's already dead? You can't. And there's so many little loopholes of getting around the system, which in that sense, these are wrong and immoral, and the whole system of persons needs to be squandered, and we need to move to the right, which is the righteous way, which is common law. I've been waiting a long time for the money to go back to a gold standard. When I was younger, for example, maybe 15 years ago, so I'd have been 18 as such, and I was really into the law, trying to fight my way and find my way to the truth without getting too stuck into things, because it's a massive rabbit hole. But again, it took many, many years and lots of understanding and lots of growth to get to a position where I fully understood where I was and what that particular system had to play a role into the world, and how I can free myself via the earth. But a gold standard, if we're moving into this gold standard now, it's going to be a perfect way to do transactions via the gold and silver. So in knowing this, if you've got any sort of savings right now, or they are in blockchain, I suppose it's time to get them out and to put money or invest into silver, because I know right now silver's at quite a low rate. I'm presuming it's around about £11 an ounce, and gold's up there. But in my research previously, long time ago, this would be putting out from memory, which I try not to do, but it's going to level or almost become level with gold, because silver has such value in the modern day world to do with the electronics and all the solar powered things that's going to be coming out. So it'd be a good thing to invest in. I have not been involved in the world for a very long time, so I don't have much information going forth with the new monetary system or what's been put out there.
Well,
But again,
let me interject just for a sec, because that's where that's where, being part of this incredible team with you, Colleen and I have been able to have some connections there. And again, everything that Josh is saying is borne out by that what we've heard, what we've read, what we have seen from this new quantum financial system. What they are talking about consistently is encouraging people to invest into real gold and real silver, and that they are saying that both are equally good investments, and that they are anticipating an increase of a minimum of 5 times the current value. So if you look at gold at a couple of $1,000s an ounce, 5 times is $10,000 an ounce. So that is quite a jump, and that is a very healthy return on your investment. And again, silver, a minimum of say $11-12 an ounce to $60 an ounce. That is again a very hefty climb. So this is what they've talked about consistently, is a system that is based upon a gold and silver standard. And again, what we were, and that's why in the last couple of podcasts we have shared it with you, and I'll do it again today. We were encouraged to share with others that the cryptocurrency is not considered by this system, and therefore will not have a one-to-one exchange value. So if you have cryptocurrencies, they are encouraging people to exchange back into the current system for now, which any investment in the current monetary system will have a one-to-one exchange into this new quantum financial system, which is real money backed by real actual wealth. So I just wanted to share that with you, and then back over to you, Josh.
Yeah, so really essentially it's taking out the third hand that would be taking the wealth from the people. So it's able to be used in a proper way where people can grow at a rate which is going to make everybody more wealthy than they are at this current time. So don't have fear of what's coming. Always look forward to the bright side, because you always have the earth, which can give you abundance in any situation by just planting the fruit and living life rich as you should. If this system's coming forth soon, it continues through the realm, but there's going to be different coding. That all mortgages in the UK are actually fraudulent, and this does go across the whole of the world. But if you write away to, this is going to be from memory again, to the land registry, and you ask for an AP1 application form, this is to cancel the mortgage and to get all of your money back, and to be able to get the allodial or the allodium title. And how this is because the conveyancing solicitors legally advised you to sign a mortgage before you actually had the money from the bank that you required to buy this property.
Yeah.
So they actually have granted you a mortgage before the monies were available. And this has been proven many times in court. And I think there was one with, I can remember, Scott versus Southern Pacific Mortgages. And if you just look into that, you get your AP1 form, and you basically inform them that you're advised by a conveyancing solicitor that you could have a mortgage before you actually had the monies in the bank. This is an illegal mortgage, and you can actually claim your money back. Everyone who gets a mortgage is entitled to be indemnified by the chief land registrar. And this is for all the losses incurred, which would be every single payment that you've ever had, even the down payment. So have a look into that. A long time ago, I think there was the Benicia. So Michael Benicia, he had a channel, and he was expressing this a few years ago, trying to get a few people that he could get everybody's mortgages payments back for them who was a part of this group in one big case. There's no need to go to court. There's no need to do anything like this. It's just literally a simple AP1 form. But have a little research into that, and you may be able to get yourself some currency back before the switch, which would be a nice smile for most people in the UK if they have got a mortgage or ever had a mortgage.
Right, exactly. Thank you, Josh. And what we've also shared with everyone as well is that, and we can guarantee everyone that they no longer have these forms because what another thing that you need to know, this is sort of the backstory to everything that Josh has been sharing with you today, is that all of this has been done with sleight of hand from the sea, right? This is why it requires currencies, because you have to have currents to allow the subterfuge to flow from the sea onto the land. So that's why you have to have currencies to allow this illegality to flow upon the land as lawfulness. And these currencies are all flowing from this massive island at sea. And so when people say that all roads lead to Rome, they don't. They don't. It leads close to Rome, but it's not Rome. All the roads lead to Venice. And the reason why the Phoenicians shifted their headquarters from Phoenicia, which is on the eastern end of the Mediterranean Sea, on the rolling hillsides on the Mediterranean Sea side of the Holy Land, the reason that they moved to Venice is very, very fundamental, because it absolves them in their eyes of all guilt or criminality to everything that they're doing. Because what they're doing is that, yes, they know that they're casting a spell, they're casting black magic, but they're doing it on the sea, and they're allowing these specious laws of the sea to flow upon the land, and then we consent to them. So nowhere along the line are they, in their eyes, are they ultimately responsible for any of this. So Venice, 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 and your true original documents to every loan that has ever been signed, no matter where you live, no matter who you are, big or small or whatever it is, they're all stored in Venice. And when this takedown of the cabal started, believe me, they took the head of the Hydra off first. Now, that's something that we haven't even gone into detail yet, but that is the big story, the big piece to all of this, is that they took the head of the Hydra off first. And this is why you see all of these minions in chaos and confusion, because they keep phoning Venice and no one's answering. So all of your records are stored, your true original copies are all stored in Venice. So another quick little thing for you. If you ask for any loan, including the mortgage on your house, if you phone your conveyance, so whoever has provided you with this mortgage, so your bank, let's say, and you contact a person in the mortgage department, you have every right in the world to demand to see what is called the true original copy. All of the true original documents for every loan that anyone has ever conveyed are held in Venice. Venice was taken down so that all of these true original copies no longer exist within the system. So when you demand of your mortgage company or your car loan company, whatever loan you have, when you demand, which is well within your right, for you to be able to see the true original copy of your agreement with them, and they can't provide it, that loan, that mortgage, whatever it is null and void. And then all you need to do is within a couple of weeks is contact 3 different reclaimant companies and let them know that that your loan has been nullified with this bank in this number, and then they have a couple of weeks on their own to verify that this information is correct, and then they can no longer have you on their records, and nor can they hassle you with attempting to reclaim a payment on a loan that no longer exists. So once again, that is called the true original, and I guarantee you they no longer have, no matter who you are, no matter where you live, they no longer have the true original copy of your agreement with them. So back over to Josh.
So I think it takes about 10 minutes for that original copy to be gone. But that is a great way, and this is across the board with any type of loan at all. But if this is scrambling the mind, this is what it's designed to do.
Yep.
And you can get lost in this world of information for many, many years. And to free myself when I was a young boy from this, because I was alone on my journey for such a long time. I had to really understand the workings of the law to free myself. So I got to a point of synchronicity. And in that point of synchronicity, the truth just blew through me, or through my vessel, and I was able to see clear. So the most important thing that we can do is not really focus on all these legalities, because they cause us a lot of stress. They cause us a lot of negative vibration. And in trying to free yourself, it causes a massive strain. So again, revert to the person and the man. Now, if you choose to be godly and righteous and you move to the right side and you want to be the truth, I suggest that you ignore all of these left-sided laws and how it makes you feel, or trying to free yourself from them, and just get to grips with the person and the man and nature, God and consciousness. Because you can easily walk away from the system if you are a man or a son of God. You can throw out the money changers as Jesus did and walk on the waters of this maritime law system by just returning to the earth. The earth is free and it is abundant, and everything about this law is abundant. So as long as you shall not hurt another entity, steal from another entity, or damage another entity's property, you're free to do exactly as you wish without constraints. So I suggest you use nature as your best friend, and you plant seeds, and you try to find some land, and you find your way out of the system with the currency that you have at the moment into a way that you can merge with a slow transition to become abundant while you have the time. Because you will find so much freedom with earth or with land. And if you're not in a capacity to do it at the moment, I suggest you just try to find liking or similar vibrations that you carry to be able to go on a journey yourself and share the monies that you have. Maybe 5 families as such, or 5 couples, if they have an equity of maybe £25,000 each in something, or a house or a mortgage, or they have possessions. 5 times 25 is 125,000. Now, if you go and acquire some land, that would be a lot of fruit trees, a lot of fencing, and a lot of materials to be able to create your own space. But even if you choose to wish a more peaceful life in a quiet rural area with a small property, and then go from there, you will find so much more peace, harmony, and balance working for yourself and using nature to create abundance, rather than working 8 hours a day in a cycle of death and unhappiness. There's something really freeing with nature. And also in doing so, you're going to create a flow of energy through your physical nature to create a gap or a space that will connect you to the spiritual side. So this is a part of your evolution, to feel the stress and the pain of the chaos that's created, and action from the applied knowledge that you've acquired will bring peace of mind to you. And
Right.
this is what I suggest.
Right. And Josh, again, that's why this analogy of the eye of the hurricane is just so universally accurate. Because what Josh is saying is that when you become fixated upon the system, and they've done this to me, and I'm angry, and I need to right the ship, and by right the ship, I'm going to attack the system, and I'm going to get back, take back, or whatever. What you're doing is you're creating a negative energy. You're creating harsh currents for your vessel to have to flow against. So all of a sudden you've tilted the table against yourself, and you're now having to go upstream, which creates a lot of effort. Once again, what Josh said is that when you just move forward, knowing that you are free, knowing that nobody can hold you back, knowing that again, the laws of the land are cause no violence to any others, do whatever you wish, but causing no violence in any form to any sentient being, but again, free to do whatever you wish, then you truly can be who you came here to be. You can truly find and discover yourself. And that is peace of mind. And you see, peace of mind is that center I, is that I. And if that I be single, then thy whole body shall fill with light. Tesla said, we are energy. Everything is energy. Therefore, it is all about frequencies, vibrations, and pulses. So our frequency must be free to frequent the peace of mind. And that is staying in that center eye, that middle eye, the eye of the hurricane. And every time you leave it, you go into the hurricane, because the hurricane is all around you. That's the out there world versus the in there world. And I think a wonderful way, Josh, for you to take us to the end of the show today would be this explanation and understanding of the three words that you and I love to use and are so well known for now amongst the truth community, and that is the difference and the importance of knowing the difference between understand, understand, and overstand. And in the knowing of these and the conquering of these three words, you shall exalt thyself. So take it away, Josh.
First of all, we usually have the word understand, and we've been given this via the Oxford Dictionary or the commercial school teachings. Do you understand? But the true meaning of the word understand means, do you stand under the authority that I'm speaking of you? Now, obviously, you should never stand under the authority of anyone else apart from yourself, being a man. So this is key to get the inner standing of. To overstand would be the middle one, is to stand over that ruling in your awareness. And you know that to understand is not a good place to be. So overstanding something is actually gaining the authority back via the gnosis or the knowledge that you've acquired on your journey. But to truly understand is an holistic synchronicity between both of the words, or all of the dimensions that exist in that format, to create a wonderful mindset that's created an internal environment that you are in a place of knowing. So to understand is to fully know, which is the most important way to proceed. And to proceed is proceeding, to continue life. But I also wanted to add, before I forget, that, you know, there's something that might keep people trapped, and how did this system begin, etc. And I just wanted to say that, you know, the post office is post off ice. Now we have off icers, so this is for after seeing the off icers, the officers. But the post office was the first original courts. Now the post office have created something called addresses. Now, adding RESS is adding something that rightfully establishes the double sine waves. But what it's doing is the reverse of this. So by creating an address, they've created a corporate place of living. Now, for you to have an address, this is something that creates contracts. So it's not actually good to have an address. You do not want an address, because now you are labeled as something that does corporate business. So if you do not have an address, I just wanted to basically get to this point. If people are worried about going back to land, and people are scared, and they think, you know, obviously it's wrong to go and gain control of land that someone else owns. But if it's not in use, and you wish to choose a piece of land peacefully as God's creation, or as a being of this earth, and you think you want to try this, and you want to grow, and you want to do these things, to register something again is wrong. It brings you into commercial. You have now given ownership over to something else. If you have an address, now you can have letters. For instance, if you're worried about someone coming, or the policy would come and they would engage with you on this land that you've now chosen to exist in, first of all, in that instance, they'll want to acquire a name, but you must be in the understanding of that policy are there to keep the peace, and they're not there to engage in any matters of the land. This would be through the court system. But how the court system works is they need to file paperwork. This is what prosecution is. So how can they file paperwork to a non-named here and now being without an address? They can't. So this is where this is where the key lies. If you don't have an address and you don't have a name, there is no way that you can create contracts. There is no way that you can be processed or prosecuted. There is no way they can keep a man for longer than 23 hours in a cell. And if they do take a man without his consent, this is unlawful. You say kidnap would be a word, but this is for children, and I'm struggling to find the true word. Abduction. It's unlawful abduction. And the amount of bondage or the amount of money that could be collected from someone making a mistake of putting a man inside a cell, and all judges will know that there's a bond on a judge. I think yes. Putting a man in prison is £90 million or $90 million offense. So if you truly understand who you are, man can't be touched, he is protected, you shall fear no evil, the earth is abundant, it is free, it is giving. Anything inside of a box doesn't exist, and this is a part of law. There's so many micro laws and so many things that it would take, maybe 50, 60, 70 days of pure speaking to try and get the non-truth about the truth of the acts, statutes created in this illusion of the world. And what's so freeing with the earth is it's so simple. You don't need a name because you're here and now, and if somebody needs to see you, you're here. You don't need an address because if they want to see you, they can come to you at the place that you're existing in the here and now. And anything that you identify yourself with or labeling creates the identity crisis that everybody seems to be under, that they are a name, that they have a place to exist. But there's nothing other than the here and now. We need to stop labeling things and we need to just go and be free. And this is with the right earth, the opposite of our nature in the world. There is a complete difference between the world and the earth, and the persons are for the world, and man is for the earth.
That's right, Josh. So beautifully said. One is provably real. The other is a construct that is based on theories, and that is how our entire organized society has been run for 100 years, entirely based upon theories that are placed upon a court. It's a game, and we're not given the rules on how to play the game. And we take it seriously without knowing any of the rules, and we're victims to this game. And I'm going to pass it back over to Josh again in a sec. I just want to quickly say here, remember, with both the court system represented by a judge and by the policy division represented by a police officer, what are the two things that they will always do first to maintain service on the court? Because remember, if this is a game and it's on a court, then tennis is the best representation of the game that they're playing on court. Because in tennis, it's your court when it's your serve. You hold court when you hold serve because you hit the ball. In other words, there's a metaphor for you control where the ball goes. You know the other person is guessing. It gives you a distinct advantage. And the metaphor for this plays itself out with the term as king. When you are holding court, right? This is right back to the Bible with Jesus and how Jesus always dealt with the Pharisees of the church in the pages of the New Testament. They always attempted to control Jesus Christ by attempting to hold court. Jesus always took service away from them and remained as king because Jesus always was asking the questions. You see, ask king is as king. So whether you're dealing with a judge in a court or a policy officer, police officer with regard to policy, the first two things that they will do to take you off your game, to get you off your game, to take advantage, right? Tennis, all of these acronyms for tennis, right? They get advantage and they get first serve, is that they pretend to be as king, and it's their court. It's not their court. Every court is a public court. The individual is the creator of the public court. They are role players. They are servants. They serve you. It is not their court. It is your court. They get to stay there. It looks like it's their court, but it's a misrepresentation. It's your court. It's a public court. You, the individual, man or a woman, you are the owner of all things that are public. It is your court. Know the rules of your game. So the first two things that these two beasts do to you is they say, are you this person? And what is the name that they use? A 3-word, all capitalized misrepresentation of a natural being. And what did Josh say at the beginning of the show? Na me, not me. A name is not you. You are not a name. So when anybody asks you, are you this person? Of course not. Of course not.
I'm him.
And I am here and I am now. How are you doing? Because you must remain in command of serve. You see, when you first start to deal with police or a judge, all you're doing in the beginning is you're determining who gets to serve first. Because whoever serves first is going to hold the game, is going to hold court. You're going to win the game when you are here and now. One is now. When you're in the now, you've won. And to be in the now, you are as a king. So you have to be as king the questions. So when a police officer says, is this you? I am me. How are you? What's your name? How are you? How are you doing today? And then the second thing that they will always do is, do you understand me? They will always throw that question in. It's the ultimate spike, the ultimate nail in the cross, is always asking that question. After you've agreed to answer the first question, are you this person? Most people say yes, and accept the fact that you are a dead man walking. Then they nail you to the cross once and for all for good, and they hold serve on their court, and they're going to win the game. And that is, do you understand me? And as Josh said, that is, are you in awareness that you stand under me? And when you say yes, the game is over. It is completely over. You've lost. And whatever they say, they're going to get away with, because you have capitulated your power. So I want to introduce, because Josh will be able to end the show with this and blow you away with this full gnosis of the importance, as Jesus did. So again, you see with the New Testament of the Bible and Jesus Christ, clearly these were problems that have gone on for a long time. These people who commit usury and the money changers in the temples, is that we must remain as king, and the king asks the question. So in the Bible, anytime Nicodemus or anybody else confronted Jesus, how did he answer their question? With a question, because he is the true king, and he retained advantage on his court. Okay, back over to Josh with that.
Yeah, you never ever need to answer any question coming from anything or anyone. But another thing I wanted to add is, don't think that they're in any type of awareness of this. They're not. They're on a script and they're acting. They go to their work every day to do the job, and they only know what they know. Even in compartmentalized ways, if you go to the chief of police, for example, they do not know. So there's no point in wasting your time trying to ask for your freedom, trying to become a sovereign, or trying to be, freeman of the land and these types of things, because a freeman's still under the law. You're still trying to mess with the law, but you're trying to use the law to your advantage, when you need to overstand the law and understand the truth. The truth is that you are free, you are unbounded. You've believed up until the point that you know that you're free, that you weren't. And any type of ideology, well, let's start again. Every single thing in the world is an idea. and the ideas have been created by man. Now, you do not need to go under anybody else's rulings or anybody else's ideas. And this is where language will always set you free, because it's not hard to see between the lines when you know language. They've got everybody walking around in a weekdays through the weekdays, and they get so tired by the weekend, and they're so weakened that they get a day off. You're in a slave system of modern day slavery, that people believe that they're free, and they're eating slave food in slave houses or proper ties, which is all left brain pain for the physical to experience. And if someone is recognizing these facts, it's time to make action or change your karma by applying the action and go back to the land. So just remember that any interaction that you have, they do not know, but you always must remain firm in knowing who you are. Because if you follow the processes once, you're now free. Because if you believe what I'm saying is right, it's still a belief, but you must go through it if it presents itself in your existence to be able to come out the other side knowing. But they cannot and will not be able to process any being who does not have a name. And this is why Charlie said they first will always ask you your name, because they cannot talk to alive beings. They must talk to a birth certificate entity under the policy, which would be your name. So any type of contract will always involve a name, and that name will be something in all capitals, which is a dead entity. And this is why it's on a tombstone, all capitals. And the capital city or the capital letters caps it all, and they stop the true divine essence of creation flowing through you. And the king, the king or the real true king is the one that wears the purple crown. But as king, the king is the K in G, which is the perfect balance between the hemispheres in G, which is the realm that we're existing in right now, which is the 7 or the sine wave that's even from the balancing of the sun sine wave. So to ask questions is to be as the king, but the one who is as the king is the one balanced in the temple, the hemispheres in this existence between the left brain, the right brain, the world, and the earth. Because we all need to go through these processes here as consciousness to evolve, to be able to expand, to be able to grow. And this is exactly why we're here. So the ones that are starting to overcome the world, balance it out with the earth, start to go home, start to realize that trees are abundant. Fruit bears the seed that grows the tree that will feed and nourish the earth and all of the beings in it. There is nothing needed other than fruit trees to be planted to be able to feed man, to be able to shelter man. There is so much space on this earth. We've been scattered in lands that are too cold and are barren, and they've put little square boxes up with lights in, and they provide food that's grown with rubbish minerals that are not given nutrition, and they've developed food that is not food, that has been given to people from their birth, or should I say be earth. And they've been in a complete indoctrinated matrix that's enslaved their mind. And what people believe is not the truth. The truth is out there. And it's the opposite of the matrix. It's the opposite of the left brain. And every instance needs to be balanced by the negative polarity, by the earth. And this is where you will find balance. And it's very simple. The world is too complex. It is a rabbit hole that you need not go into. There's a simple essence, and it's healing, it's wisdom, it's the earth. You are electrical, you need to be grounded, you need the earth, you need everything in it. It's freeing. and I can't express it anymore. You could slave away for the rest of your life to eat secondary food, and you could be free, never going to work, enjoying bringing and raising your children up to bring forth a wonderful new age by just freeing yourself from work. When you go to work, you have to put your children in school, which trains your children to be corporate entities with no love, no skills, no understanding, just a repetition so they can speak and to be able to communicate in the world of business. So if I can say anything from today, as I always will say at the end, is just to remember who you truly are. And from that space, you are the observer of everything, and your physical body is a vessel. And this vessel is incredible, but you have not been using it to the capacity that it has, and you have capabilities, and these abilities are the bylights from the Bible, and this is how you reciprocate your life and look forward to something increasing your awareness, as I have done and I've been through the experiences of, because life is limitless, the impossible is impossible, and we can do anything to get her together.
Beautiful, Josh. Such a beautiful way to end things. Let me just quickly add to that, everyone, that in life you have to be able. If you're not able, then you're Cain, and Cain is can't. And to be able, Abel being the brother of Cain, the right hemisphere to the left hemisphere of the brain, to be able is you have to be a bull. The Bible, bi is two, and bull, two bulls. These are the two bulls of God and God's creation, which are the double sine wave, which makes up the torus field, Taurus, the bull, torus field of who we are. So everything is all about being a bull. And so we must become the bull of God. And that is to be, and that is to realize that we are on this court and that we must hold serve as king to have the advantage. And we always take advantage by remaining as king. And in the position as king, those serve us. We do not serve the system. The system exists to serve us. A public court is a court belonging to the individual, not the servant who is chained to it. They are chained to that court. Remember, when anybody, a policy officer, attempts to detain you and ask you anything, you have there is zero, not one. And this much they do know, that they cannot obstruct a living man. They cannot obstruct a child of God. You do not need to treat with these agents of the establishment, because the establishment is to establish the guidelines over your mind. That's what they're attempting to do. That's what they largely have done for the last 100 years. So if somebody attempts to establish your identification of the individual, you are as king. You do not answer questions to a servant. The servant answers you. So I am me. How are you today? How are you feeling? You look like you could use a little bit of sun. Are you enjoying being out in this weather today? There's nowhere this conversation can go if that is how you treat it, because you are as king. You need to know this. And as Josh said earlier, Josh speaks to you and I speak to you of this gnosis because we have been as king. We have been in these situations. Josh has been in many more situations than I have. And Josh always has held serve every single time this situation appears. Sometimes with the perception of great problems, but Josh never, ever, ever wavers. He is as king and he holds serve because he knows it's his court. As king, it's all his court. And he knows this. And the servants who are chained to the court do not tell you what to do. Do not hold power over you. They exist to serve you. So ask them a question.
Acting. They are the ones acting. They're the ones on a set program You just need to watch the Lego movie in an awareness, and you'll see that the Lego movie is the L ego and it's the left brain world, and everybody's on an autonomous path. They're all following certain guidelines. They have to build to the structure of commerce, but then they knock them down and they rebuild them, keeping them in a perpetual cycle of busyness. And you said something earlier which sparked me, that each country was set up for the people, and then the gas, the electric, the water, these things were all free as being a part of the United Kingdom, or England, let's say, under the bracket of the government. But in each town and each city there was 2 councils set up. The word council itself is council, and there's a council, and when you're seeking council, you see L on the end, which is the EL, which is what you should be joining. But in each city there has been 2 councils, one work for you and one work against you, and this system was set up to discharge debt via your birth certificate. But there's been a massive fraud, and it's been lost along the lines. And all we need to do to get around this is to truly understand that we are love, we are consciousness, and we are the children of the creation. And we are a part of this creation, and we are not separate. Let's not identify ourselves with an identity, and let's just be who we truly are. And this is the observation of awareness, and we are awareness, and this is whom we are, of God. God is pure awareness, God is consciousness. But the creator is a Taurus field, and this is how we're existing here. And it's wonderful to be able to understand all of this and have the holistic picture of truth, because the fear goes. This is why the Bible says, fear no evil, because as soon as you do fear, you identify yourself and you've lost. You must not give in to fear. If someone's coming and talking to you, you may feel your body reverberate. You may feel an energy center come into play and block you. But if you stand your ground and be king, you will come out knowing. And this is what the pain body is here to experience. Thought forms trap your awareness. Everything in the world is a thought form. Policy is a thought form. Government is a thought form. Media are thought forms. Films are thought forms of fear. Television programs are thought forms of fear, for you to see, to observe, to overcome, and to become more powerful within your own awareness. So remember that there are 2 entities. Man, person, and monster are one. Are you of the righteous side of man, or are you of the left personification, or a monster in the monster's ball? And it's really that simple. There's no need to get tied up into the law. If you're truly looking for freedom, you may just want to look into a few things, which would be the person and the man. And it's really that simple. The world versus the earth. Person versus man.
It's true, and again, what Josh and I always use to describe this, because this all comes from every single ancient scripture, and that is the in there world, the inner world, and the out there world, and that is once again the analogy of the eye of the hurricane. You're either in the eye, and if thine eye be single, thy whole body shall fill with light, or you are not of the eye, and if you're not of the eye, you're of the hurricane. That's the pain body. That's the storm. It never goes away. There's nothing that you can do. If you think your existence is to sell yourself daily to try and help others by attempting to conquer the out there world, then eventually you'll be sucked up and blown away by the out there world, because the out there world is a hurricane. It's not your job to attempt to save the world by attempting to change the out there. The out there, which is the left brain, this is all just the allegory between the right hemisphere and the left hemisphere of the brain. The out there is a hurricane for a reason. You're not supposed to change the hurricane. You're supposed to choose against the hurricane. You're supposed to choose the inner light. You're supposed to choose the middle way. You're supposed to choose balance, peace of mind, and harmony. Where do you think peace of mind exists? In the eye of a hurricane. What's the only way to get into the into the city of Jerusalem? Through the eastern gate, the gate of the eye of a needle. And it's easier to get a camel through the eye of a needle than it is a rich man into heaven. You must be humble and penitent before thy Father, before thy Creator, and ye shall know eternity as King. You are powerful beyond imagination. You do not treat with people who are servants acting upon a court, and they're chained there to play this role of service on a court forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. You are as king. They serve you. You do not serve them. You are the child of God. You have power beyond your description. So remain as king. Always remain as king.
And busyness no longer needs to be busyness. If you have something worth value, or you're a creator, or you just simply grow, you can trade things without being inside the realm of commerce. When you register your business, you're handing over the business again to be looked after in a trust, because you can't trust yourself with the money. You can do free trade. You never need to fear the money changes. You just need to stop creating contracts. You need to stop using the pen in the all pen system, the penal system. You need to stop speaking the sentences you speak, because the sentences is what puts people inside the prison, to take away the sun, to take away the light. It's very simple. Do not be afraid, but you must arm yourself with certain level of awareness to free yourself, because fear traps you. It's just so simple. You just got to know who you are and never break the fear.
Yeah, exactly. I'm so glad that we got a chance to say that at the end of the podcast, that if a policy officer ever comes up to you and the conversation starts, can I see your identification? No, I don't have any, but you look like such a wonderful person. Are you enjoying this sunshine out today? Because this is a beautiful, beautiful day. If that's how the conversation starts, it's not going anywhere that leads to prison or wrongful incarceration. It's going nowhere. It's going nowhere. So we're mankind. So we hold serve, and we do it kindly, nicely, because we're not assholes, So there's no reason.
I've got a video of a man who's speaking his tongue in a court, and he's playing back and forth with the judge, but it's not really going anywhere too tough. And then there's one thing that the judge says to this man, and it's over and over again, is, are you employed? You may know what you're saying, but are you employed in the state of New Jersey? Are you employed in the state of New Jersey? And he was saying, I don't have to give you these answers. I didn't have to do this under this. And she said, are you employed? And she just kept repeating it. If you're not employed, none of these things can stand. And it's that simple.
That's right.
You literally, by employing yourself into this paradigm, you have now created such a trap. Stress, distress, the job is the trap. You do not need to work.
You described it so beautifully. And then the moment that you stop working is when everything that you could possibly hope for begins to come to you in abundance. And when you employ yourself, because like we discussed during the show, that all of this is done through currents, right, of the magnetic waters. They are drawing these polar opposites together. So again, the children of God, we are electricity, but the mother is magnetism. And so we are attracting these currents to us. So we can either attract the currents of the real earth, the real mother, which is the virgin mother of pure consciousness. This is where the virginity comes from, the purity of consciousness, because she is the mother.
Oh, it's truly hard.
That's right, of the Father, or we attract the currencies of the world. And God only knows what that is, because it is such a specious, convoluted system of subterfuge. Goodness knows at the end of the day, ultimately what it's all about. So we only want to draw water from the well of the Virgin Mother, and that's copper, and that's magnetism, and that is the grounding of the we electrical children. And we can only ground the electrical children through the magnetic mother. It's that one story. No matter, you go to chemistry, biology, physics, mathematics, you go to history, you go to fairy tales, anything,
Yeah,
it's always this one story playing itself out in all of these different guises, but it's always that one story. Yeah.
but the whole system of this law is absolutely huge. Try not to get lost in it. There was a great hangout that you did maybe a week ago, and that went into depth of the maritime system. But what we truly need to know is the Easter eggs that free us from that system. And the Easter eggs is what we've hopefully covered today, to make you have a certain twisted perception towards freeing yourself back to nature. Because law reversed is a wall. You don't want to get into the wall because you'll bounce off of it. You want to climb over the wall to get to the other side. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for having me again. I look forward to moving forward into spirituality and then bringing forth some wonderful, wonderful things for everybody just to use simply to find the self and then to know the self.
You grace me with your wisdom and your presence, your kindness. You are mankind. When Jesus was asked in the Bible, what is his name? He said, my name is Aman, for I have been to Egypt and back again. Egypt is allegory for the left hemisphere of the brain. That is also, once again, the symbol of the hurricane and the eye of the hurricane. Jesus tested the Admiralty waters, and he came back and he found that he is a man. And what we are mankind, womankind and mankind. And there's no better example of mankind than Josh X. Josh is a man and he is kind. And it is all that we should ever attempt to be. And we have to be able, because if we're not be able, then we're Cain. And Cain is can't. And if you can't, then you can never enter in through the eye of a needle. And so with that, we're going to say goodnight. And I say thank you so much in every cell of my essence to Josh for gracing us with his wisdom and knowledge and kindness, because this is a very important subject. And Josh just explained it to all of us so beautifully, so simply, in a way that we can understand and then apply and to become and remain as king. So Josh, thank you.
Never fear, stay present, because you are here and now. You are not you're not an entity or an ID entity. You are here and now, and it's that simple. As a man, as king, you will remain free and unbonded. The illusion is here, the delusion is external. Just be present and you will find the key. Very simple.
Beautiful.
Love and light to you all.
Thank you. And same for myself and Colleen and Frodo. So, so we love you. Thank you, everyone, for joining us again. We'll be back with lots more with Josh, because he's agreed to. Please remember Josh and Michelle. Again, in the show notes, I'll have Josh's Patreon account and his PayPal. This isn't about the money, but again, Josh, to do everything that he's doing, he is taking himself away from his life's work to do this. And again, through all of the help that we receive, that's what both of us are doing. We are building a reality of which any one of you can choose to join and partake in for all time. So thank you again, Josh. Thanks to everyone. And we'll see you again soon with another show. And again, just all my love, Josh, to you and your beautiful family. And I thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Have a wonderful day. Love and light from us all here to you all everywhere.
Good night, everyone. Good night.